And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
Oh my God.
And I can only hope
What does that mean?
that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line.
Rachel Zegler thus had a full-fledged meltdown following Snow White's tanking intensity beyond what anyone could have predicted. It resembled the whole fairy tale kingdom falling slowly, except at 6 a.m. Rachel stomped her feet, flung her temper, and started whining louder than a leaf blower, not singing her way out like a Disney princess. Word on the street is her ego inflated faster than a party balloon on speed. Instant reality checked as the backlash hit the populace. It wasn't lovely.
This is what theaters look like across the world, and it just keeps getting worse. The memes. Let's say that you were in a Hollywood movie, and the trailer for that movie dropped on YouTube, and it instantly became the #1 most downvoted trailer in the history of the platform.
The movie was absolutely terrible. It's not the single worst movie I've ever seen, but in every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was.
So get ready, since what you're about to see is the wild ride of how one starlet's overconfidence combined with a handful of viral interview clips managed to turn a timeless fairy tale into one of Disney's most chaotic disasters to date. Disney pushed this remake like it was their next cultural reset from the start. Snow White, but seen as modern and edgy instead. Less of that antiquated true love's kiss material exists now. Since who, in a fairy tale, wants fantasy romance?
She continued celebrating herself by posting that she's in the #1 movie in the world, which is a remarkable thing to post when you are the laughingstock of an entire industry. This is what narcissism looks like. Narcissism for 200.
Now, ever since the debut of Snow White, it has been nothing more than a box office disaster, not just for the Walt Disney Company and Bob Iger as the CEO, but also for Rachel Zegler.
How it was so outdated and how Rachel Zegler disrespected the original. And a classic from Walt Disney, something that completely saved Disney and changed the company and changed animation in general.
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
This is truly, like, she has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go.
They forgot why people loved the 1937 classic they were trying to reinvent in the first place. Then arrived Rachel Zegler, fresh from a major musical and apparently prepared to carry the whole Disney legacy on her shoulders and maybe her ego too. She was assigned to be Snow White's new face. Disney said she was the ideal selection. Beautiful, gifted, full of Gen Z vitality, but what they had not anticipated was how quickly she would turn press interviews into a masterclass on what not to say. Rachel began roasting the original Snow White as personally offended her before the trailer ever dropped. She laughed off the idea of needing any romantic storyline at all, and found the 1937 version eerie for featuring a prince to be unsettling.
She's not going to be safe with a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Now let me clear things out correctly. Girl power is fantastic, but her expression of it was more bitter Twitter thread and less powerful queen. She didn't only modernize the message, she destroyed it with contempt, as if she alone had figured out the formula for how fairy tales ought to be written. And remember to hit that like button and subscribe before we delve further into this meltdown. I'm not trying to have a Disney executive cancel based on Wi-Fi. Alright, let's get right back into it, since believe me, this disaster is only starting. Rachel conducted every interview as if it were an open mic night for dragging the film she was meant to promote. Talk about chewing the hand that feeds you. Every soundbite seemed more like a dramatic Twitter thread than media training. Read aloud, she was not modernizing the story with every sarcastic comment on the original Snow White, she was flaming it. Disney, already deeply mired in this mess, continued to promise fans that this new version would be bold and innovative, a fresh approach for a new generation. They decided to replace the 7 famous dwarves for a group of hapless friends somewhere along the road. Sidekick mystery walkers. Not one person knew. Fans were perplexed. Critics were dubious, and Twitter let off a field day. The memes land more strongly than the box office. Rachel, though, saw this as a cue to keep on talking. More sarcasm, more haughtiness, more strange energy that made her seem less an actress honoring a legacy and more like a youngster mocking her grandparents' wedding album. The trailer was formally a meme by the time it dropped. The responses ranged from mild fear to complete online roasting. One YouTube commenter best described it. This seems to have been penned by someone who despises fairy tales and has never really read one. The trailer was instantly ratioed into oblivion, and the dislike bar resembled more of a red carpet to catastrophe. And did Rachel pull back and consider things? Not, of course. She doubled down, showcasing empty theaters like it was something to brag about on now infamous TikHub. It was something else quite different, not self-awareness. While some supporters conjectured she was being sarcastic, most agreed she was simply flexing her flop. One user queried, "Girl, did you really post that?" but screenshotted, "Memed into oblivion, the moment was already frozen in time." Disney was in complete frenzy behind the scenes, which didn't help. Execs claimed to be frantically searching. The budget stretched out like a CGI bird in one of Rachel's dream sequences, and marketing expenses were skyrocketing. And then arrived the premiere, sometimes known as the most costly ghost town in the world. The whole theater was so empty that surround sound could clearly convey regret. Viewers captured selfies with whole rows of chairs. One man laughed he saw more people in the bathroom line than in the actual theater. Disney claimed the film was misinterpreted and tried to save face, but the only thing being misinterpreted was their initial letting of this happen. Critics attacked it for delivering more than just narrative. Longtime Disney buffs felt alienated and claimed they had no interest in feminism lectures. They yearned for fairy stories with heart magic, and indeed, perhaps even a prince or two. Next arrived the whispers. Word of the business grapevine was Rachel was quietly leaving roles left and right. Pixar reportedly removed her vocal cameo from Toy Story 5, codenamed Spies. Rumors abound that her name had been linked to a Pirates of the Caribbean reboot until it wasn't. Her professional path moved from Hollywood's next big thing to let's circle back in a few years. Online, it was known as the Ziggler effect. Type self-sabotage into Google, the top result would be Rachel's side-eyeing thumbnail. For their part, Disney was left carrying the bag. Already battling theme parks, CEO Bob Iger saw a drop in streaming revenue, and now this Snow White debacle was the cherry on top of a corporate sundae none ordered. Critics noted that Rachel just kept publishing, while Disney became so preoccupied with delivering a message that it neglected how to tell a story. The marketing team was working feverishly, compiling fresh promos and TV spots like digital duct tape. Still, it all came off as someone handing out free samples for a movie nobody wanted to see. Damage had been done. The magic mirror of Snow White broke. No witch was needed to accomplish this. One actress, one mic, and a lot of lost confidence were all it required. It got so messy that even the loudest cheerleaders for the remake started backing away gently, mumbled things like, maybe the world just wasn't ready for progressive Princess 2. To be really honest, though, people were rejecting Rachel's delivery rather than change. Should she have merely said, "We're modernizing Snow White," they might have leaned in, but nope, with some humility and regard for the original fans. She walked full scorched earth, dragging the OG film like it owed her money. Nowadays, The Meltdown in all its glory is a textbook example of how not to manage celebrity, particularly when Disney hands you a legacy job. Will Rachel make recovery? Hollywood lives for redemption arcs, really. We have seen stars spiral and recover under an apology, a sophisticated indie film, and a new stylist. For now, though, Rachel's talent and promise are buried under a tsunami of memes, contempt, and embarrassing questions in interviews. Nobody is mentioning the visual effects or her vocal range. None at all. Burning into the public memory is the conceit, the shade, and that smug energy, and like clockwork, the catastrophe sparked everyone's preferred argument. Has Disney lost its storyline? Are they so preoccupied with messages that they have lost the ability to simply present a great narrative from film panels to living room group discussions? One could wonder why fix what wasn't broken. Particularly when the fix calls for turning famous dwarfs into arbitrary forest sidekicks and casting a lead unable to stop trash-talking the source material. Veteran performers watched and shook their heads like disillusioned parents. Once upon a time, you had to prove your right to modernize a classic. now? A few decent auditions and a microphone. You're telling Walt Disney's ghost he got it all wrong. Rachel went from rising star to online punchline at a really, honestly, amazing speed, and all it took was a few thoughtless words and a sky-high ego. Now, people mention it every time a young celebrity on press tour gets a bit too fiery. Not go completely, Ziggler. Translation: don't trash your own project, alienate the fan base, and behave as though you are doing everyone a favor just by showing up. Rachel's career is yet under development. She could vanish for a year, resurfaced with a different viewpoint, and remind the planet she is more than just a PR disaster. But her name became ingrained in the burn book of Hollywood meltdowns until then. Oh, this story will be told in acting schools. Seminars for PR professionals and late-night YouTube dives in depth. Once upon a time, an actress turned a dream job into a lesson-learned cautionary tale. Now practically folklore, the funniest aspect is the movie never even had a chance to stand on its own. Before the opening credits could run, the off-screen drama seized the whole narrative. Some claim it's only a blip Rachel will bounce from, crying gently in front of a well-lit window while sipping herbal tea on a dramatic apology tour. Others believe she is already headed toward that long list of almosts who were hyped to the moon only to vanish in the streamlining abyss. In either case, Snow White's flop now sits next to Disney's most famous what were they thinking moments. And look, the viewers are still laughing since the meltdown sure would have occurred should the movie fail in terms of entertainment. The drama, the anarchy, the paletism, it gave us everything. What moral lesson this fairy tale gone wrong teaches? Less can sometimes be more. A little respect goes a lot. Sometimes you have to zip it until the movie opens. Trust me, there is much more drama where this originated. Even their managers are requesting witness protection. Flopping franchises turned careers upside down and caused press Drop your take in the remarks. Has Rachel formally entered the Hall of Fame for career missteps, or is her outburst merely a paver in the road? Tell your friends so they may see Disney's least enchanted princess rise and quickly fall as well. Also keep your alerts on since the fairy tale's curtain might fall on here. Still, Hollywood is always full of another performance. Remain petty, and keep tuned until next time.